the harsh reality of modern life. Nobody talks about. There's something strange happening to people right now, and most of them don't even notice it. You wake up. You check your phone before you even open your eyes fully. You scroll through other people's lives before you've even started your own. And somehow, by the time you put your phone down, you already feel behind, already exhausted, already not enough. This is the quiet crisis of modern life. Not the kind that makes the news, not the kind people gather around and discuss, the kind that sits silently inside you, growing heavier with every passing year. We were promised that modern life would make things easier, and in many ways, it did. But nobody warned us about what it would cost. It cost us our attention, our stillness, our ability to simply sit with ourselves without reaching for something to fill the silence. Think about the last time you were truly bored. Not bored and scrolling, not bored and watching something, actually bored. Sitting with nothing. Most people can't remember, because we've engineered boredom out of our lives completely, and we've replaced it with stimulation, constant, endless, relentless stimulation, and we call that progress. But here's what nobody tells you. Boredom was never the enemy. Boredom was where your best ideas lived. It was where you heard yourself think. It was where creativity breathed. And we killed it. Quietly, voluntarily, and with great enthusiasm. The second thing nobody talks about is this. We are more connected than any generation in human history, and yet loneliness is now considered an epidemic. That's not a coincidence. That's a consequence. We traded depth for breadth. We traded one honest conversation for 100 surface-level interactions. We traded being truly known by a few people for being vaguely known by many. And we wonder why, at the end of the day, we still feel unseen. Social media didn't create loneliness, but it gave loneliness a costume. It made isolation look like socializing. It made performance look like connection. It let people broadcast their lives without ever actually sharing them. You can have 10,000 followers and still have no one to call at 2 in the morning when things fall apart. And that gap between visibility and intimacy is where modern loneliness lives. Here's another reality. We are working harder than ever, and for many people it feels like it's getting harder to get ahead. Not because people are lazy, not because they lack ambition, but because the rules changed while the game was still being played and nobody stopped to explain the new terms. An entire generation was told that if you studied hard, got the degree, put in the hours, you would build a stable life, and many of them did everything right, and still found themselves anxious about money, about the future, about whether any of it was going to be enough. That's not a personal failure, that's a systemic one. But it gets carried as a personal weight, and that weight, unseen, unspoken, makes people feel like they are somehow falling short of a standard that was never designed to be met. The most dangerous thing about modern life is not any single problem, it's the pace. It's the fact that everything moves so fast, there's no time to process what's actually happening to you. Grief gets skipped. Rest feels like laziness. Reflection gets mistaken for weakness. We are expected to keep moving, keep producing, keep optimizing, keep growing, even when we are hurting, even when we are empty, even when what we actually need is to stop. And the people who do stop, who take the time to rest, to feel, to slow down intentionally, they are often the ones who look like they have it together. Not because they escaped the pressure, but because they chose consciously not to let the pressure define the pace of their entire life. That's the thing nobody tells you. Slowing down is not falling behind. Stillness is not stagnation. Choosing to live at a human pace in an inhuman world is one of the most quietly radical things a person can do. So what do you do with all of this? You start by being honest. Not performatively honest, not the kind of honesty that's just vulnerability dressed up for an audience. Real honesty. The kind that happens alone, in the quiet, when you finally ask yourself the question you've been avoiding. Am I actually okay? Or have I just gotten very good at functioning? Because there's a difference, and that difference matters more than most people are willing to admit. You also start to protect your attention like it's one of your most valuable possessions, because it is. Every hour you spend in mindless consumption is an hour you didn't spend building something, thinking something, feeling something real. That's not a moral judgment. That's just an honest accounting of where life goes. And finally, you choose depth. In friendships, in work, in how you spend your hours. Not everything. Not all at once. But you begin to ask, with every choice, is this adding something real to my life, or is it just filling space? Modern life will not slow down for you. The noise will not get quieter on its own. The pressure will not lift simply because you feel it. But you can choose, one small decision at a time, to build a life that feels like yours. Not the one the algorithm suggested, not the one comparison handed you. Yours. And that, quietly, is where everything begins to change.